On her way to work, the girl named Sinjin suddenly saw a familiar figure. She subconsciously quickened her pace, watching his back disappear into the crowd. Sinjin thought their fate was just a fleeting moment, but unexpectedly, he appeared right where she worked. She gently paused, gazing at the calm face that had long been etched in her memory. In the meeting room, Sinjin heard General Manager Shun introduce the technology director of Tongchun, named Li Wu. He had just returned from overseas and was very famous in the technology world. Sinjin introduced herself as the creative director of Shengchan Company. Sinjin asked for permission to present a promotional plan for the Environmental Protection Technology exhibition. She wanted to name the theme Entanglement. Hearing this, Li Wu's heart unconsciously trembled. He recalled the feeling of excitement at the first moment he met Sinjin. He still wore the electronic watch she had given him years ago. He also still used the fountain pen that she had immediately known suited him. Director Tsin, how do you perceive the meaning of entanglement? For Sinjin, entanglement is the connection between lives that cannot be severed, like a kite tied to a string. Even if the wind blows it far away, there's no worry of getting lost. As long as the string in hand doesn't break, the entanglement will always exist. Li Wu wondered how something invisible, like feelings, could be confirmed as an entanglement. He hoped that during the upcoming collaboration, the promotional team could explain it more deeply. In the restroom, Sinjin still couldn't calm down. She remembered visiting a small mountain village years ago. There, she first met Li Wu. Sinjin and her boyfriend, named Wu Fu, on behalf of her father, took over the sponsorship for Li Wu. The village chief praised Li Wu for being sensible and for always ranking first in his studies. Just then, General Manager Shun called to inform her that he had invited the clients to dinner. Sinjin stepped into the elevator and coincidentally met Li Wu again, and her previous calmness suddenly vanished. She was so tense she counted every floor number in her head. But when the elevator opened, Li Wu unexpectedly blocked her path. Sinjin, do you understand the meaning of entanglement? It is love, and it is also hate, but it isn't about not caring. Why haven't you contacted me at all for so many years? Sinjin walked away decisively, leaving Li Wu behind with heartbroken pain. During the meal, Sinjin heard General Manager Shun introduce the famous yellow croaker dish. She hurriedly rotated the table towards Li Wu and said the foie gras was also very delicious. Shun Jun praised that Sinjin was young but excellent, so she would represent Shengchan and take full charge of the cooperation project with Tongchun. On the way out, Shun Jun asked Sinjin, "Are you not calling Dr. Liu to pick you up?" Li Wu heard this and felt even more messed up inside. He saw Cheng Rue about to greet Sinjin, so he immediately pushed his friend inside. Cheng Rue knew Li Wu was pretending not to note Sinjin. He remembered his friend insisted on coming, but kept a face as stiff as plaster the whole time. Just then, Shun Jun created a work group chat. Li Wu immediately went to Sinjin's profile page, but didn't see any status updates. He borrowed Cheng Rue's phone. Sure enough, she had posted a lot of photos. Li Wu's gaze stopped at a photo. Sinjin was taking a picture with a man. A suspicion rose in his heart. Is that Dr. Liu? He returned the phone to his friend, trying to hold back his heart that was about to break. Don't let it show on the outside. 8 years ago, Sinjin received a call from Li Wu. He reminded her that he was a student who was once sponsored by Mr. Tsin. He said that last year he missed the university entrance exam. Sinjin remembered that the tuition was still transferred to his grandfather's account. Li Wu said his grandfather had been dead for a year, and he had moved to live with his aunt's family. Last year, right before the university entrance exam, his uncle forced him to work in the mines. Now he wanted to continue studying, but they wouldn't let him. Li Wu had just contacted Wu Fu, but he said he had already broken up with Sinjin. She immediately called Wu Fu and asked if he was that irresponsible. Wu Fu thought that since Sinjin's father started the sponsorship, he should hand over the right to end it to her. Sinjin could continue being a good person or refuse him. She realized that in his eyes, sentiment wasn't worth a cent. Sinjin called Li Wu back, but someone else answered the phone. They said Li Wu borrowed the phone, but couldn't wait for Sinjin anymore. Returning to Yunfeng village, Sinjin coincidentally met the commune's secretary named Cheng Li Xue. She explained that her father used to sponsor Li Wu, but she heard that he was in some trouble. Coincidentally, Li Xue knew where Li Wu's aunt lived, so she led the way for Sinjin. Li Xue praised Li Wu for being both well-behaved and talented. It was just a pity he had a money-hungry uncle. Upon arriving, Sinjin heard Li Wu's uncle scolding his nephew. He threw away all of Li Wu's books, so he would have no way to run away. He forced Li Wu to pay for room and board before being allowed to leave. Li Wu remembered that his uncle had kept all his wages. He was about to resist, but just then he heard Sinjin's voice. Li Wu hurriedly turned away, regaining his composure before daring to look at Sinjin. She explained that she used to sponsor Li Wu, so she wanted to speak with him privately for a moment. Entering the cramped but tidy room, Sinjin told Li Wu to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. She looked at the solar panel he had built himself. Because there was no electricity in the room, he had to figure out a way to have light to study. Sinjin asked Li Wu, "Do you still keep your grandfather's bank card?" She saw him glance towards his uncle and knew the answer immediately. Going outside, Sinjin questioned the aunt and uncle. "Why won't you let Li Wu take the university entrance exam?" The uncle said he was the only laborer left in the house. He had several mouths to feed, so how could he support a university student? Sinjin agreed to pay for all the exam review costs and university tuition. She believed Li Wu would certainly get into a good school and repay his aunt and uncle later. But the uncle didn't want to wait and force Li Wu to work to earn money. He advised Li Wu, "Don't dream of taking the university entrance exam." Sinjin was angry and asked to be excused for a moment. Secretary Chung chased after her and invited Sinjin to stay for the night. Because it was about to rain, the mountain road would be very slippery. Li Xue took Sinjin to stay temporarily in a room for primary school teachers. Sinjin looked at the door, missing a latch, and had to block it with tables and chairs. On the other side, Li Wu was diligently reading a book. Seeing it start to rain, he suddenly felt worried for Sinjin. He pulled out a wallet hidden under the bed to get money to buy some things. Meanwhile, the power went out in Sinjin's room. She turned on her phone flashlight just as Li Wu knocked on the door. He said there were many mosquitoes in the village, so he had bought some things for her. Sinjin invited Li Wu into the room to talk for a bit. He lit a candle, making the room feel warmer. Sinjin wondered why Li Wu sought her out. "Sinjin, I want to study and become successful, so I have the chance to repay the people who are good to me. I want to step out of these big mountains, so I have to try every possibility." "Li Wu, do you believe in fate?" "I only believe in myself. As long as we don't give up on ourselves, we can solve every problem." Li Wu left and discovered the door was missing a latch. He knew Sinjin would be scared, so he quietly stood guard outside, because that was the only thing he could do for her. At this time, early in the morning, Secretary Chung came to find Sinjin. She said that earlier she came and saw Li Wu guarding outside the door all night. She went back to get some food, but when she returned, she didn't see him anymore. She heard everyone say Li Wu's uncle forced him to go work in the mines. Meanwhile, Li Wu decided not to listen to his uncle. He saw his uncle hit his aunt, so he grabbed him by the collar. Just as Sinjin entered, Li Wu hurriedly let go. Sinjin declared she would take Li Wu to East City. She asked the uncle directly how much money he needed to agree to let the person go. Li Wu was supported by Sinjin's father, so she couldn't let him be trampled on. The uncle questioned Sinjin, asking if she was relying on having a little dirty money to plan on stealing a person. Sinjin said she had asked a lawyer to check the contract. She would take back the sponsorship money from the past year and simultaneously accuse him of misappropriating assets. Sinjin offered a price of 30,000 yuan, considering it the fee for raising Li Wu for 1 year. If he agreed to let him go, she wouldn't take back the sponsorship money anymore either. Sinjin heard the uncle agree and immediately urged Li Wu to pack his belongings. Entering the room, Sinjin wanted to hear Li Wu's opinion. She asked him if he agreed to go with her. "Sinjin, I promise I will pay you back the money." "Li Wu, pay it back with your university entrance exam scores, okay?" Chasing after her nephew, Li Wu's aunt stuffed a little money into his hand. She urged him to go quickly and not to come back again. Li Wu felt sad and held the roll of money tightly in his hand. He asked Sinjin for permission to go to a place. Li Wu ran very fast up the mountain to visit his grandfather. He remembered his grandfather telling him he must study to become successful and not get stuck in these mountains. Li Wu bowed his head to say goodbye to his grandfather. He ran back very fast because he was afraid Sinjin would have to wait long. When he arrived, she had fallen asleep on the seat. He quietly stood blocking the car door to help her sleep better. Sinjin woke up and guessed Li Wu had been waiting for several hours. She urged Li Wu to get in the car, but he ran off to scrape the mud stuck to the soles of his shoes. She said her shoes were also dirty, so she would wash the car tomorrow. Looking at Li Wu's forehead covered in dirt, Sinjin gave him a tissue to wipe it, but seeing Li Wu fumbling, she removed the dirt stuck in his hair herself. Leaving the mountains for the first time, Li Wu's eyes were full of expectation. Finally arriving in the city, Sinjin asked Li Wu what he wanted to eat. He shyly said he wasn't hungry, but she was hungry, so she stopped at a supermarket to buy some things. Sinjin came back carrying a bag of pastries and urged Li Wu to eat quickly to avoid low blood sugar. Just then, Sinjin's mother called to ask if her daughter had moved out on her own, so she had to confess that she was preparing to divorce Wu Fu. She asked, "Does Dad still remember sponsoring a child in Yinfeng village? He had some trouble, so he missed the university entrance exam last year. I just brought him to the city so he can study again conveniently." Sinjin's mother questioned, "You are standing on the verge of divorce, yet you still have the mind to worry about other people's business?" Sinjin wondered. If she didn't care, then who would take care of Li Wu? He called. Could you just let a kid fend for himself? Li Wu saw Sinjin get in the car and hurriedly pretended not to hear anything. Back at the apartment, Sinjin saw Li Wu standing outside. He tried to wipe the soles of his shoes very clean before daring to step into the house. He changed into slippers and carefully placed his dirty shoes outside the door. Sinjin urged Li Wu to put his luggage down and sit to drink some water. He noticed she left her slippers off the rug. Just when Sinjin went out to get the food, Li Wu hurriedly placed his slippers neatly off the rug. Looking at the crispy fried chicken, Li Wu secretly swallowed his saliva. He waited for her to invite him before daring to taste it. It was his first time eating crispy chicken and French fries and drinking soda. Sinjin heard Li Wu studied natural sciences, so she wanted to find a good training school. Sinjin, just gonna go to school is already good enough for me. Sinjin hoped Li Wu would have higher standards for himself. She set a goal that he must at least get into one of the top 100 universities. Sinjin mentioned the phone call from earlier, which made Li Wu a bit tense. She said she was agitated, but it wasn't directed at him. Li Wu, you're 19, so just call me sister from now on. Li Wu hesitated and stammered out, sister, taking Li Wu to his own room. Sinjin told him to get the blanket and pillow from the cabinet, and she would quickly clear out some cardboard boxes so he would have more space. She continued, leading him to the bathroom and showed him how to adjust the water temperature. She urged him to hurry and unpack his things so he could rest. Li Wu excitedly turned on the light and sat down to test the very soft sofa. Seeing Li Wu soaking wet, Sinjin brought him a bath towel and told him he had to dry his hair next time so he wouldn't catch a cold. In the middle of the night, Li Wu quietly went back to his room, but an upset stomach forced him to return to the restroom. Sinjin heard the water running constantly and guessed Li Wu had a stomachache from eating unfamiliar food. She knocked on the door and told him to come out and take some medicine. Li Wu didn't dare use Sinjin's cup, so he washed a coffee mug to hold his water. He tried not to make any loud noises to avoid disturbing her sleep. The next day, Sinjin came in and asked Li Wu if his stomach still hurt, and he was so tense that he dropped the book in his hand. She looked at the bedsheet spread on the sofa and realized she hadn't pulled the seat down. He hadn't expected the sofa could turn into a bed. Seeing Sinjin ordering food again, Li Wu stammered, I can cook breakfast. She told him to feel free to show off his skills and just let her know if he needed anything. She praised his eyes for being very beautiful, saying perhaps he inherited them from his mother. He said his mother died early, so he didn't remember what she looked like. Li Wu, from now on you can think of me as family. But Sinjin, I will definitely pay you back. While buying fruit, Sinjin caught Wu Fu walking side by side with another girl named Xiaoyu. She followed them into a restaurant, wondering why only the two of them were dining. Wu Fu asked Sinjin what exactly she wanted to say, but she suddenly lost her appetite and excused herself to leave. Chasing after Sinjin, Wu Fu said he was just inviting a partner to dinner, and she couldn't make the whole group take responsibility for her own emotions. Princess, you need to step out of your greenhouse. The world doesn't just revolve around you. Wu Fu, you aren't the only one who lost a child, but I thought we would get through this difficult time together. Sinjin, I can't keep trying anymore. For years, I've always worked hard to erase the label of being a social climber. I also have to worry about your feelings and your parents' feelings too. Sinjin, I regret not leaving you sooner. Waiting for Sinjin to return, Li Wu saw that her eyes were red. Just then, Sinjin's father came to visit Li Wu. He brought a lot of food and some study materials. Meeting his daughter privately, Mr. Tsin announced that he had gotten Li Wu into Teacher Chi's class. In 2 days, Sinjin should take Li Wu there to enroll. He asked his daughter if she needed to rest for a few more days to recover her health. Sinjin tried to hold back her tears and said she might have to divorce Wu Fu. They had cracks in their relationship early on, and after losing their child, they argued even more. She thought she just needed to wait for Wu Fu to cool down, but she didn't expect him to have built up so much dissatisfaction. Mr. Tsin thought that marriage is a two-way choice, but Sinjin shouldn't deny her own worth because of this matter. Because life can't always be smooth. If a job isn't going well, you change it, and a painful marriage can also end. Before leaving, Mr. Tsin told the two of them to eat all the dumplings. He said if it was inconvenient for Li Wu, he could move in with him. Sinjin refused because her mother was still angry with her. Moreover, Li Wu will be starting school in a few days anyway. In 2024, Li Wu continuously rejected Sinjin's plans. Cheng Rue had to interrupt, saying he was looking forward to the next plan. The next day, Li Wu made everyone meet at 9 a.m. He remembered that in the afternoon, Cheng Rue was busy meeting clients, and he had to go to the laboratory. Hearing Cheng Rue ordering coffee, he asked him to buy 2 hot Americanos. In the meeting room, Cheng Rue invited everyone to have coffee. Sinjin didn't like cold drinks, so she chose a cup of hot Americano. She asked for permission to present some exhibition themes. Li Wu quietly watched Sinjin stroke her hair, exactly the same as in the old days. He intended to offer some opinions, but Cheng Rue finalized the plan right away. Sinjin suggested cross-checking the contract. Just then, a shareholder walked in. She was afraid something might change before the contract was signed, so she wanted to go back and confirm. In the meeting room, a co-investor named Mr. E questioned why they had to spend money on promotion and system upgrades. He thought they should make money right now, before making the company bigger and stronger. Li Wu believed the system had a lot of room for optimization. If the upgrade is successful, we can expand the market. Outside, the receptionist invited Sinjin to Director Li's office. She looked at a series of photos of Li Wu without knowing that her own picture was pasted behind him. Li Wu returned to his office and caught Sinjin holding that pen from years ago. She praised him for achieving so much right after graduating. He was truly very talented. Li Wu asked Sinjin, "Is there something you need?" She wondered, "When are we going to sign the contract?" Sinjin thought she had put a lot of effort into the project, so she wanted a fitting return. "Sinjin, just because you put in a lot doesn't guarantee a fitting return. Isn't that how a lot of things are?" Sinjin told Li Wu that if he was dissatisfied, she could withdraw from the project. Otherwise, she hoped for a happy cooperation in the future. Back at the company, Sinjin was afraid she was causing a disadvantage to the project. Shinjun advised her to think positively. Just then, the assistant reported that Tong Chun had just sent the contract. If there were no legal issues, it could be signed anytime. The next day, at the meeting, Li Wu didn't see Sinjin. He looked around searching for her, but didn't feel comfortable asking. Cheng Rue announced that from now on, General Manager Shun would be in charge of the project. After work, Sinjin thanked Dr. Liu for driving her home. She went inside and caught Li Wu standing there waiting for her. "Sinjin, you withdrew from the project. Do you hate seeing me that much?" "Li Wu, you've had too much to drink. If there's something to discuss, wait until you're sober tomorrow." Li Wu stepped forward and pinned Sinjin against the wall. "Sinjin, you haven't changed at all. You still don't give anyone a chance. You withdrew from the project on your own. Did you ask for my opinion? Or is it because I'm not important at all? Why is it that every time, the person deciding to leave or stay is you?" The longing suppressed for so long made it impossible for Li Wu to hold back anymore. In a moment of lost control, he bent down and stole a kiss, even though he knew he was forcing it. "Sister, it looks like you haven't been lonely these past few years, have you?" "Li Wu, people always have to live better lives." "Sister, I thought I would hear a different answer. It turns out the things that happened didn't affect you at all." But Li Wu didn't know that Sinjin tossed and turned all night. And he couldn't sleep either because of his impulsive action. 8 years ago, Li Wu got up early to cook breakfast. Sinjin finished eating and took charge of washing the dishes. She went in to remind him to only bring the exam papers with high scores over 120. She watched him filter through every page, so she just told him to bring them all. "Li Wu, let's go to school." Before meeting the teacher, Sinjin told Li Wu to be more confident. She asked, "Have you ever lied? For example, say you like math the most." "Sister, I like physics the most." Sinjin realized she shouldn't teach an honest boy to lie. Entering to meet Teacher Chi, Sinjin entrusted Li Wu to him. Teacher Chi said he relied on university entrance exam scores to assign classes. However, Li Wu didn't have a university entrance exam score, so he told Sinjin to handle the admission and dormitory procedures first. After that, the school would organize a proficiency test for Li Wu. Teacher Chi asked further about how Li Wu's math scores were. He thought they were just average, but said he really liked math. Outside, Sinjin questioned him. "Doesn't Li Wu like physics?" Li Wu thought that math was also a tool for researching physics. Sinjin wanted to take Li Wu to buy a few outfits to wear besides his uniform, because she didn't want his way of dressing to cause unnecessary gossip. Arriving at the fashion store, Sinjin chose some basic styles. Just then, she got a phone call, so she urged him to go change clothes. Li Wu looked at the price tag and could only sigh. He timidly came out, making an excuse that the other shirt didn't fit very well. Unexpectedly, she made him try on a jacket that was twice as expensive. Sinjin was very pleased and wanted to buy a pair of shoes too. The staff reported they were out of size 44, but size 43 was quite wide. Li Wu tried them on and pretended they fit very well. But as soon as Sinjin touched the toe of the shoe, he hurriedly pulled back. She told the staff to order size 44 and sent it to her. Li Wu heard Sinjin paying and could only look at the small amount of money in his hand. Arriving at the restaurant, Sinjin introduced her best friend, named Chun Chong. She complimented that eating with a red boy. It was truly a beautiful sight that made the food easier to swallow. Chun Chong thought Li Wu was blushing from shyness, but unexpectedly, he couldn't even breathe. Sinjin guessed Li Wu was allergic to seafood and hurriedly helped him to the hospital. Waiting for Li Wu to wake up, Sinjin asked him, "Did you know you were allergic to seafood? If not, You should have at least known your body felt uncomfortable. Chun Chong urged Sinjin to go buy medicine so the little brother could rest. Sinjin didn't understand why Li Wu refused to speak directly. The shoes were tight, yet he stayed silent. He had trouble breathing, yet he wouldn't open his mouth to complain. Chun Chong thought Li Wu was just too cautious and timid because he had no relatives left and could only rely on Sinjin. No one had ever taught Li Wu to voice his needs, and no one had ever been as good to him as Sinjin. Because Li Wu valued Sinjin too much, he was even more reserved. Returning to visit Li Wu, Sinjin hoped he would accept her care. She would have to go back to work soon, so she wouldn't have much time to look after him. Therefore, she wanted him to quickly adapt to life here. Sinjin saw Li Wu looking at the 4-drip and guessed he needed to use the restroom. As she helped him carry the 4-drip, she accidentally saw Xing Yu getting a prenatal checkup. The doctor even diagnosed that she had been pregnant for a few weeks. Li Wu knew Sinjin didn't want to show her face, so he hurriedly shielded her. Back home, Sinjin told Li Wu to take his allergy medicine. She had bought a separate cup for him, so he didn't need to use the coffee mug anymore. Sinjin saw Li Wu still keeping his things outside and urged him to organize them inside the cabinet, calling Li Wu out to the living room. Sinjin shared her likes and dislikes. She thought since they had never lived together, they could understand each other this way. Li Wu held the pen, but didn't know how to write, because before, no one had ever asked him what he liked. Sinjin knew Li Wu was allergic to seafood and told him to gradually add to the list later. She handed him a phone, but he didn't dare to accept it. She explained that this was just her old phone. Moreover, when he was at school, he wouldn't need to borrow other people's phones. She told him to try calling her number. She went into her room to answer the phone and asked him if he was still angry about what happened to the hospital. "Sister, I'm not angry. Li Wu, tomorrow will be a new beginning. Just feel free to run." On the way to school, Li Wu took the opportunity to study. Sinjin remembered that he didn't have to take the university entrance exam tomorrow. She transferred 2,000 yuan to him just in case he needed it. "Sister, I already have a meal card." Sinjin thought Li Wu had to buy school supplies. Besides, occasionally he could improve his meals. Entering the messy dormitory, Sinjin quickly tidied up. Li Wu also joined his sister in refurbishing his small corner. Sinjin wanted to invite his roommates to dinner, but Li Wu felt it was a bit bothersome. Arriving at the canteen, Sinjin told Li Wu to measure his height and weight so she could order uniforms on the parents group chat. She asked, "Don't you think I look like a parent? If so, I'll let Dad be the parent." Li Wu was startled and didn't dare to trouble Mr. Sin. Before leaving, Sinjin promised Li Wu she would come back to visit him after he finished the proficiency test. "Sister, I didn't accept the 2,000 yuan from this morning. Later, if I need it, I will ask to borrow from you." Li Wu listened to Sinjin and ran freely towards the front. Thanks to her, he could now go to school like everyone else. Back at the dormitory, Li Wu got to know his roommates. Cheng Rui introduced himself and a friend named Lin Honglang. The remaining friend named Ran Feiqi also came to greet Li Wu. Cheng Rui said the whole grade had a total of 6 classes, among which class number 1 was full of top students retaking exams to get into Tsinghua. He and Feiqi were in class number 3, while Honglang was in class number 4. Waiting for Li Wu to finish the exam, Sinjin asked him how he did. Li Wu said he was in class number 3, not getting into the best select class. Sinjin thought that since Li Wu had interrupted his studies, he needed to regain his rhythm before he could make a leap. Sinjin gave Li Wu an electronic watch. She guessed that while studying, he wouldn't be allowed to use a phone to check the time. "Li Wu, take good care of yourself. I'm assigning an extra mission. You must gain 10 more gene, approximate 5 kilograms. Sister, I will try." Studying late, Li Wu heard the alarm reminding him to eat. He wanted to call Sinjin, but just then his friends returned to the dormitory. He settled for texting her that the watch was very useful. He said he had just eaten dinner and his friends were quite nice. Hearing that she was going to work tomorrow, he wished everything would go smoothly. Returning to the company, Sinjin invited everyone for coffee. She went in to congratulate Director Gu on deploying the SIA project. Director Gu praised Wu Fu for being very meticulous, truly a match made in heaven with Sinjin. He had just been promoted to director and hoped she would coordinate well. On this side, Li Wu timidly entered his new class. He remembered Sinjin's words and confidently introduced himself. The teacher saw Li Wu was tall, so she assigned him to sit at the back of the class. Li Wu quickly settled down to catch up with the lecture. Meeting up with Sinjin, Wu Fu urged her to read the divorce agreement. He knew the house in Mu Yunli belonged to her premarital assets. He had paid the deposit for the current house, so he would temporarily keep it. Sinjin wondered, why is Wu Fu in such a hurry to divorce? "Sinjin, are we still happily living together?" Until midnight, Li Wu was still diligently reviewing his lessons, but since it affected his friends, he had to turn off the light and go to sleep. In 2024, Li Wu was dragged along to entertain guests. "Mister, He introduced the technology director as Tong Chen's ace card. Chung Rue didn't expect Mr. E to be able to drag Li Wu to these social gatherings. Late at night, Sinjin heard someone unlocking her electronic door lock. She looked through the peephole. It turned out to be a drunk Li Wu. Sinjin opened the door and asked Li Wu why he came here. He let out a sigh of relief and then collapsed onto her. Sinjin helped Li Wu into the house and laid him down on the sofa. She woke him up to drink water and told him to wait while she got a warm towel. Sinjin, don't go. Li Wu pulled Sinjin into his embrace, his voice choking up as if begging her not to leave him. The drunkenness in his body made the love mixed with longing become frantic, pushing him into reckless action. His kiss was so intense that she couldn't escape. Even so, Li Wu still tried to suppress the rising desire, because mixed with love, he also harbored resentment. Sinjin was startled and hurriedly pushed Li Wu away. 8 years ago, all his friends went home for the weekend. Li Wu stayed in the dormitory, but didn't dare call Sinjin. Just then, she contacted him and urged him to quickly come out to the main gate. She knew he had the weekend off, so she came to pick him up to go home. Li Wu happily ran very fast down to meet Sinjin. Sinjin looked at Li Wu's shy face and guessed immediately that he didn't do well on the exam. Sister, I didn't make it into the top 30 of the whole grade. Sinjin told Li Wu that if he wasn't comfortable at school, he must tell her. She handed him the menu to help her choose. Arriving at the restaurant, Sinjin praised the food as delicious. But Li Wu was still so tense that he choked on his rice. As soon as they got in the car, Sinjin received a call from Chun Chong. She reported that Wu Fu was with someone else. Li Wu wanted to go with Sinjin, but she urged him to go home first. Following the location Chun Chong sent, Sinjin witnessed with her own eyes the scene of Wu Fu cheating. That moment made her heart ache sharply, because also at this place, she was once so happy she thought she would be peaceful with him for a lifetime. A hand suddenly covered Sinjin's line of sight. She turned back and met Li Wu's worried gaze. He stepped forward, using his back to shield her from having to see any more of that painful sight, before turning back to glare at the terrible man betraying her. Back home, Sinjin drank alcohol to drown her sorrows with Chun Chong. She used to blame herself, never expecting Wu Fu to cheat. She blamed herself for being naive. Thinking she had found true love, she decided from now on she would live a new life. Waking up early in the morning, Sinjin saw that Li Wu had finished cooking porridge. He heard that rice porridge was good for people with hangovers. Sinjin asked if Li Wu's uncle caused trouble with him every time he drank. Li Wu said at most they just argued a few sentences. But if his uncle caused trouble outside, people would come to settle the score, and at that time he would fight back because he used to endure silently, feeling both heartache and pain from his wounds. Li Wu's words made Sinjin wake up to reality. She stormed into Wu Fu's house and recorded all the evidence of his affair. They had even finished decorating the baby's room. Wu Fu, we haven't even divorced yet, and you dare to bring your mistress to live in our marital home. Do you despise me, or do you not fear the law? If you betray me, don't act like a victim. While I blame myself for losing our child, you already had another one. Wu Fu, leave with nothing, or else I will sue you to the end. Going down to the apartment complex, Sinjin saw Li Wu waiting for her. Li Wu, let's go home. Arriving at the front door, Sinjin changed the lock password to today's date. She told Li Wu that if she was busy with work on any weekend, he should come home by himself. He tried to suppress his emotions because he was allowed to consider this place home. In 2024, Li Wu woke up in a hotel. He remembered that last night, while drunk, he had barged into Sinjin's house. He was afraid the kiss only existed in a dream, so he called the receptionist to confirm. Unexpectedly, Sinjin had actually brought him here. Back at the company, Li Wu was confused looking at Sinjin's citizen ID card. Just then, the hotel receptionist called to report that Sinjin wanted to get her ID back. She didn't find it convenient to contact him, so she asked the hotel to bring it over. Li Wu texted, forcing Sinjin to come and get the ID herself. She really wanted to ask clearly about the hatred in his heart, but didn't know how to start. Late into the night, Sinjin still hadn't texted back. Li Wu sulked and turned off the light to sleep. But he didn't know that she still kept all of his belongings. Every single memento was filled with beautiful memories. After drawing a clear line with Wu Fu 8 years ago, Sinjin decided to resign from her job. Chun Chong congratulated her best friend on her rebirth like a nirvana, just as Li Wu reported that he had just received his uniform. She urged him to ask a friend to take a picture and send it to her. Chun Chong praised Li Wu's natural beauty, saying it was definitely worth setting as a wallpaper. On this side, receiving Sinjin's compliment, Li Wu's cheeks blushed, and he decided to set it as his profile picture. Li Wu wanted to meet Sinjin on the weekend, but was shy to ask. He only texted to report that he had a monthly exam today. She guessed that after the exam, he would have time off, so she promised to pick him up tonight. Back home, Sinjin wanted Li Wu to relax after the exam. She knew he hadn't used the TV before, so she turned on the Happy Meal show. Unexpectedly, he immersed himself in the entertainment world so much that he didn't hear her call him. Li Wu carelessly touched Sinjin's hand lightly, causing his tender heart to tremble slightly. Seeing Li Wu eat a lot, but only gain a mere half a jean, she wondered how much money he had spent on his meal card. Li Wu remembered precisely, a total of 326 yuan and 90 cents. Sinjin calculated that Li Wu spent 100 yuan each week. Did he just eat plain white rice? Li Wu, I didn't force you to save money. In front of me, you eat a lot, but back at school, do you eat miserably? Sinjin, you also eat very little. Sinjin had to try to finish her bowl of rice to set an example for her little brother. She demanded that he must spend 300 yuan every week. Meeting Sinjin to sign the divorce agreement, Wu Fu praised her for looking very beautiful today. Sinjin thanked him, but said she was beautiful every day. She promised that the next time they met, she would be his competitor. Wu Fu chased after her, wanting to return the expensive gifts she had given him, but Sinjin didn't need them and asked Wu Fu to throw them away. Finally, Sinjin ended her failed marriage, and her heart suddenly felt strangely peaceful. On this side, Li Wu received a notification about Sinjin's birthday. He counted his savings to buy her a gift. Just then, Wu Fu brought some things for Sinjin. Li Wu opened the door and said he'd come to the city to attend boarding school. He didn't let Wu Fu in because Sinjin wasn't home. Wu Fu guessed Li Wu blamed him for not helping, but he thought he had no obligation, and Sinjin was just kinder. Wu Fu, are you taking advantage of Sinjin's kindness to bully her? Wu Fu praised Sinjin for daring to let a child stand up for her. Wu Fu, I'm not a child anymore. If you don't believe me, just try me. Back home, Sinjin saw Li Wu still studying. She made him turn on the light, saying he didn't need to save electricity for her. Sinjin looked at the box of things on the table, then turned to ask Li Wu. He hurriedly backed away, stammering that he didn't let that guy into the house. Sinjin carried the box outside and threw it straight into the trash can. Li Wu hurriedly went to the fridge and brought out a small cake. Sinjin, happy birthday. Sinjin corrected him that her birthday had passed. She often filled in random information on membership cards, so they texted birthday wishes on the wrong date. However, she wanted to consider today as the day she was reborn. Li Wu remembered that on her list, Sinjin wrote she liked mango flavor. Sister, I wish you more and more happiness. Li Wu's love for her wasn't in vain. Starting the new school week, the teacher announced that Li Wu scored 97 in physics. If placed in a select class, he would also be ranked high. Waiting for break time, Li Wu asked Cheng Rue to check the school-wide rankings. He felt a bit let down because he still hadn't made it into the top 30. Cheng Rue thought Li Wu had only been studying for a month and was already leading their class. Before going to sleep, Li Wu read Sinjin's new post. She declared her freedom and welcomed her new life. He also hoped he could be a part of her beautiful world. After a day of studying, Li Wu buried his head in reviewing again. Only Sinjin's text messages could make him smile. Meeting Li Wu at a noodle shop, Sinjin asked him why he hadn't announced his exam scores. Sister, I didn't do well. Sinjin looked at the sky-high scores and wondered if Li Wu wanted them even higher. She asked for the transcript to paste into her life notebook. She wanted to remember the first time his exams went smoothly. Li Wu, you did very well. Sinjin apologized because her mood had been a bit bad lately. She didn't have a younger brother or sister, so she didn't understand the thoughts of young people. So she hoped Li Wu would share whatever he was thinking with her. Li Wu stammered, Please, Sinjin, stop treating me like a child. Back at the school gate, Sinjin gave Li Wu salted egg yolk lotus paste cakes and a new pair of shoes. She urged him to go to class so he wouldn't miss the evening self-study session. The next day, Sinjin went to join AO Xing Media Company. The boss named Shui had heard her reputation for a long time and only now had the chance to collaborate. He set a date after the National Day holiday to welcome her to work. On this side, Li Wu received a call from his aunt. He hurriedly texted Sinjin, reporting that his aunt had sprained her back. His uncle was working outside, so there was no one to harvest the tea. He planned to catch a bus to Yunfeng tomorrow morning, so he wouldn't come home for the holiday anymore. Early in the morning, Sinjin came to pick up Li Wu. She scolded him for still treating her like an outsider by not asking her to drive him to Yunfeng. He explained, I didn't want to affect your new job. She begged him not to be so sensible. On the winding mountain road, Li Wu acted as a support for Sinjin. Afraid her back would hurt, he urged her to rest. Sinjin also wanted to help, but didn't know how. Li Wu told Sinjin to go up to the bank to cool off and let him harvest the tea. But she put on a hat and wanted to try it out. Li Wu worked while guiding Sinjin. She wanted to record the peaceful scene, which included his figure. In 2024, Li Wu collaborated with Yi Yang's research lab. He accidentally met Chun Chang again, who was being caught red-handed two-timing. She apologized because she didn't know who to choose. Chun Chong met Li Wu again and immediately blamed him for not contacting her for so many years. She intended to greet the new friend, but carelessly spilled water on Yang. He didn't demand laundry fees because he had just watched a good show earlier. Chun Chong explained that her mother arranged a dense schedule of blind dates. Just then, Chung Rue called to report that Sinjin came to find Li Wu. He asked for permission to leave first and asked Yang to talk to Chun Chong. Meanwhile, Chung Rue made tea to invite Sinjin. He looked at the bottle of medicine on the table, then deliberately blamed his best friend for being messy. Sinjin wondered, does Li Wu take sedatives? Chung Rue said, he has both insomnia and migraines. The doctor advised him to rest, but Li Wu worked desperately. Chung Rue remembered when they first went to America, Li Wu's mood was very bad. He always locked himself in the house and wouldn't sleep. After that, Li Wu pulled himself together and buried his head in the library. Even when he caught the flu, he didn't neglect his studies. Before graduating, Li Wu did an internship and started a business at the same time. Because he worked so desperately, he was continuously featured in technology magazines. But few people knew Li Wu's headaches were getting more and more serious. Hearing that Sinjin had left, Li Wu felt a bit let down. However, she suddenly called his name. Li Wu slowly stepped forward to face the girl he loved. Arriving at the coffee shop, Li Wu returned the citizen ID card to Sinjin. She heard him bring up what happened that night again, and immediately said she clearly distinguished between being drunk and being real. Sinjin thought she owed Li Wu an apology because she hadn't handled the matter from years ago satisfactorily. Sinjin, have you ever regretted it? Li Wu, I don't regret it, because at that time you had to go. Li Wu, insomnia will affect your health a lot. If you are willing, I'll take you for a checkup. Sinjin, do you care about me? During the severe pandemic years, you never contacted me once. Li Wu, I'm not justifying anything. But now that I can help, I won't leave you alone. Li Wu, can't we reconcile? Just then, Chung Rue urged Li Wu to come back for a meeting. And Sinjin told Li Wu to remember to accept her WeChat friend request. In 2016, Sinjin went to the company to work. A designer named Lu Tong recognized the new creative director. She took the boss around to see A.O. Xing's open workspace. The boss waited for Sinjin to arrive and then urged everyone to start the meeting. Shui introduced Sinjin as the new creative director. He shared the good news that the company won the festival promotion project for Rinshire Food. Since Sinjin had collaborated with him before, he gave her full authority to be in charge. Knowing it was Sinjin's first day of work, Li Wu took the initiative to text her. Sinjin saw Li Wu ask what time she went to work and teased him for copying her. He confessed he wanted to ask if she was used to the new job yet, but didn't know how to say it properly. Sinjin remembered Li Wu was about to take an English exam, so she promised to tell a foreign story tomorrow. Sister, thank you. Li Wu was moved. He didn't expect Sinjin to set his photo as the chat wallpaper. The next day, Li Wu received a package sent by Sinjin. Inside was a magic tool to help him practice English listening. In the small recorder, her voice gently read the story of the ugly duckling. After listening, Li Wu immediately went to the library to find and read that storybook. Sinjin's subtle and warm care gradually lit up Li Wu's world. He loved life more and more and loved the days with her presence. In 2024, Li Wu received a friend request from Sinjin. At first, he planned to wait until tomorrow to respond, but in the end, he couldn't hold back and accepted it immediately. She asked him to arrange a time to go see the doctor. Passing by an old lady selling flowers, Yang bought all the remaining bouquets. He scanned the code to pay, but Chun Chong unexpectedly paid with cash. She said the payment code was connected to the sun, so the old lady wouldn't receive the money. She forced him to add her on WeChat to pay her back. Just then, Yang's colleague passed by and urged him to go have a few drinks. Chun Chong saw Yang was hesitant to refuse, so she pretended to be his girlfriend. Yang thanked Chun Chong for helping him out. He finally agreed to add her on WeChat. Chun Chong tried to buy Yang a drink, but he had to go home to sleep early. Driving to the bottom of Sun Jin's apartment building, Li Wu wanted to have a really good sleep. He woke up, and it was already nearly 8 a.m. Just then Sinjin called. He deliberately acted cool for a few seconds before answering. She reported she booked an appointment for this morning. We can arrive early to ask the doctor more thoroughly. Sinjin, are you going with me? However, I lent my car to Chung Rue already. Sinjin promised to come pick Li Wu up in a bit. He hurriedly hung up to rush home really fast to get ready. He wanted to choose the most suitable outfit, but she was already waiting downstairs. Meeting Dr. Lu, Li Wu said he had headaches for over 5 years. He had to use level 2 painkillers to have any effect. Dr. Lu suggested Li Wu get an MRI scan and some other tests. Sinjin took the opportunity to return the jacket to Dr. Lu. Li Wu just now realized Dr. Lu was the one who took a photo with Sinjin. He didn't want to bother Dr. Lu anymore because he could go for the checkup himself. Driving Li Wu back to the company, Sinjin reminded him to remember to go get the test results. Li Wu asked Sinjin if she was busy on Saturday. She remembered that she would go visit her parents that day. On the weekend, Sinjin went home to eat dinner. Unexpectedly, Li Wu was also present. He remembered we had reconciled, so he could come visit Uncle and Auntie. During the meal, Mrs. Tsin welcomed Xiao Wu back. She told him whatever he wanted to eat. Just text Auntie. Li Wu promised to visit everyone often from now on. Mr. Tsin praised Li Wu's environmental protection artificial intelligence idea as truly very valuable. Mrs. Tsin stopped the uncle and nephew from discussing work. He must nourish himself and stabilize first. Hearing Li Wu was still staying at a hotel, Mrs. Tsin urged Sinjin to take him to find a house. Li Wu was afraid of bothering his sister, but agreed to go see some right away. Arriving at one apartment, Sinjin criticized the lighting as not good. She went to another one and discovered a leak. The broker had to lead them to the most beautiful corner unit in the apartment complex. Sinjin was quite pleased. Just when she heard the sound of drilling from the neighbor's side, the broker pointed out there was only one apartment left in the apartment complex next door. Li Wu was afraid it was inconvenient and thought he should still stay at the hotel first. The broker argued that you can't cook in a hotel, and with many people coming and going causing insomnia, only a stable home helps people eat well and sleep peacefully. Sinjin let Li Wu decide for himself, and then excused herself to go back to the apartment opposite. The broker waited for Sinjin to enter her house before daring to demand more money for acting. The next day, Li Wu immediately moved into the new house. Chun Chong was certain that Sinjin had fallen for the little brother's scheme. Sinjin knew Li Wu was even worse. He also knew how to pretend to be pitiful. Just then, Li Wu came over to borrow Sinjin's car. Because his car was restricted from circulation based on license plates, but he needed to go buy some things. Chun Chong guessed Li Wu wasn't familiar with this place yet, so she urged Sinjin to escort him. He didn't wait for Sinjin to agree and immediately ran back to change his shoes. Arriving at the furniture store, Li Wu wasn't pleased with any mattress models. He asked what mattress he slept on at Sinjin's house before, because for all these years, he only slept well on that bed. Just then, a staff member came to introduce the newest double mattress model. The husband and wife could lie down together to feel it. Li Wu hurriedly corrected that he was only buying a mattress for one person. Passing by the movie theater, Li Wu recognized a movie he once watched with Sinjin. She remembered it happened a long time ago, and now many things had changed. But he thought that many things hadn't changed at all. Sinjin, you have always been the most important person to me. When I went abroad, I thought forever and couldn't understand why we had to part ways. But later I gradually understood you just wanted me to see a wider sky. Perhaps it is time for me to let go and live really well. Li Wu saw a ball flying towards Sinjin, so he hurriedly reached out to pull her close to him. Back home, he rewatched the movie from years ago by himself, just a wall apart. She was also following that love story. In 2016, Li Wu stayed up late reviewing. He heard the dormitory inspection noise and hurriedly turned off the light to sleep. But Feiqi was worried Cheng Rui hadn't returned yet. Committing another offense could lead to expulsion. Honglang urged Li Wu to quickly stuff a pillow into his blanket. Just when the teacher opened the door, Li Wu had to climb onto Cheng Rui's bed. He claimed to be Cheng Rui and reported that Li Wu was absent. Honglang praised Li Wu for being loyal, surely making Cheng Rui move to tears. The next day, Sinjin heard Teacher Chi report that Li Wu didn't return to school all night. She immediately went to school to ask him where exactly he went. Li Wu said he went home, but she was busy working overtime. When he slept, she hadn't returned, and this morning she hadn't woken up before he left. Meeting Li Wu privately, Sinjin asked if he didn't intend to tell the truth. Li Wu had to confess he took the blame for his roommate. Sinjin knew Li Wu considered that very loyal, but he spent so much effort to get the chance to study again. She could lie, but she couldn't help him pass the university entrance exam. Li Wu watched Sinjin angrily stroking her hair, thinking it was also really cute. She heard the bell ring, so she had to urge him to quickly go into class. Entering to meet Teacher Chi, Sinjin believed Li Wu took the blame for his friend, because outside of school and home, he didn't know any other place. But Sinjin was worried Li Wu had just left the mountains and was easily tempted. So she asked the teacher to change his dormitory room. Teacher Chi thought the students might be mischievous, but were all obedient. Moreover, Li Wu was extremely sensible and wouldn't easily succumb to temptation. Excessive control is sometimes not good for young people. After being lectured by Teacher Chi, Cheng Rui blamed himself for misjudging the person. He thought Li Wu was loyal, but unexpectedly he betrayed him. Li Wu's family member even criticized him. So she asked Teacher Chi to change the dormitory. Li Wu chased after Cheng Rui, forcing his friend to speak more clearly. Cheng Rui thanked Li Wu for turning him into the type who dares to do, but doesn't dare to admit. Just then, A classmate reported that Cheng Rui's father came to find his son. Hongling watched Cheng Rui get beaten and immediately asked Li Wu if he was satisfied yet. Waiting for Li Wu to finish the exam, Sinjin came to pick him up to go home. She asked about the exam, but he remained silent the whole way. Back home, Li Wu didn't want to eat dinner. Sinjin wondered, did I make him angry? Li Wu asked her, did you ask Teacher Chi to change the dormitory for me? Hearing her admit it, he immediately stormed into his room. Sinjin chased after him, forcing Li Wu to speak clearly. I clarify that I voluntarily took the blame for my friend, but you think I was influenced by them to learn how to lie. Sinjin, didn't you tell me to blend in with everyone? After arguing with Li Wu, Sinjin left home. She didn't want to see Li Wu, but she was afraid he had nowhere to go. Chun Chong was afraid Li Wu finding Sinjin would affect his studies. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, Li Wu called Sinjin. But Sinjin didn't answer because her anger hadn't cooled down yet. Chun Chong praised Li Wu for being persistent. He could call dozens of times. Each call was spaced exactly 1 minute apart. Li Wu couldn't contact Sinjin, so he had to call Chun Chong. However, Sinjin didn't let her friend answer the phone. Chun Chong secretly texted to report that Sinjin was at her place, so Li Wu would worry less. The next day, Sinjin finally agreed to go home. However, Li Wu had already left. He left behind the phone along with a promise to study hard. During PE class, Li Wu separated from Cheng Rui's group. He stood in the last row, so he had to go get the volleyballs for the whole class. A classmate pretended his hand slipped and threw the ball right at Li Wu. Seeing him endure it, they pushed their luck even further. Li Wu resisting made them even more excited. Just then, the top student of class number 1, named Tao Wan, questioned who dared to commit school violence. She introduced herself as friends with Cheng Rui. She thought Li Wu being ostracized was more or less related to her. Meeting Cheng Rui, Wan asked if he was about to become a thug. Cheng Rui clarified that Fatty Zhang's group was just venting anger on his behalf. Li Wu didn't report to Teacher Chi but tattled to his family. Wan heard Teacher Chi say Li Wu had no family. He only relied on an older sister who sponsored him years ago, so Li Wu couldn't lie. By the weekend, Li Wu didn't dare to go home anymore. He ran out to the gate but didn't see his sister picking him up. On this side, Sin Jin's company organized a party to welcome new personnel. She heard the alarm to pick up Li Wu and intended to turn around to leave, just when Lu Tong came out and pulled the main character into the party. Meanwhile, Li Wu was still standing and waiting outside the school gate. The security guard urged him to go in quickly so he could close the gate. The next day, Sin Jin went to Bei AO Automobile Company to ask for a chance to participate in the bid. Manager Chun said Bei AO only selected partners from the supplier list, but he appreciated Sin Jin, so he gave her a chance to complete the proposal in 2 weeks. After that, Bei AO would base on actual ability to select the media unit for the new car line launch activity. On the way back, Sin Jin received news from the school medical room. The doctor said Li Wu had a fever of over 39 degrees. Family members should take him for an 4 drip to recover quickly. Sin Jin urged Li Wu to put on a jacket and then go to the hospital. While queuing to register for the checkup, Sin Jin reminded a man who cut in line. Li Wu saw him intending to cause trouble, so he immediately stepped in to block him in front of Sin Jin. She chased him back to his seat to wait for the 4 drip. Hearing Sin Jin ask for leave from work, Li Wu felt guilty. She guessed he hadn't eaten yet, so she ran to buy some food. Li Wu secretly made the 4 drip flow faster. He discovered she left her phone in his jacket pocket. He was shy to speak, so he texted to apologize to her. Back at the hospital, Sin Jin urged Li Wu to eat noodles quickly. Sister, are you still angry with me? Li Wu saw Sin Jin smile and finally breathed a sigh of relief. He felt whatever he ate tasted more delicious. Back at the dormitory, Li Wu was still not welcomed. He went out to wash his shoes just when he met Fatty Zhang's group. He asked if Li Wu bought fakes or played tricks to get branded shoes. Li Wu tried to endure, but Fatty Zhang threw the shoes on the ground. Hearing him demand to pick them up, Fatty Zhang became even more arrogant. Li Wu reached his limit and rushed in to hit Fatty Zhang. Just then, Cheng Rui came in to help Li Wu stand up. He told Fatty Zhang not to use him as a shield to take personal revenge on Li Wu. As a result, the whole group fighting was dragged down to Teacher Chi's office. Cheng Rui saw Li Wu didn't explain a single word, so he accused Fatty Zhang of bullying first. Just when Sin Jin arrived and heard Fatty Zhang's mother defending her son, Yang was also invited to attend the parent meeting for his nephew. Teacher Chi had investigated the situation and found out that Zhang Jiaqi and Gao Yichang had recently been bullying Li Wu continuously. Fatty Zhang's mother thought there must be a reason why the whole class ostracized Li Wu. Sin Jin wondered how a parent with an attitude like Fatty Zhang's mother would teach her child. She forced Li Wu to hold his head high because he did nothing wrong. She said she brought him here to study, not to be bullied by people. The wounds on Li Wu's face were enough for an injury assessment. Moreover, cameras were installed all around the school along with statements from other students. If the bullies didn't apologize to Li Wu, she would report it to the police. Dragging Li Wu back to class, Sinjin declared that whoever dared to bully her brother, she would pursue responsibility to the end. Cheng Rue didn't expect Li Wu's sister to be so cool. Sinjin apologized to teacher Chi because she was a bit agitated, but she really couldn't stand it when she saw her brother being bullied. She didn't know that for half a month, Li Wu had to endure so many grievances. From childhood to adulthood, he had suffered too much. Now, coming to the city, he still had to endure others. After announcing the monthly exam results, Li Wu continued to rise in rank. He was about to catch up with class number 1, ranking 40th in the whole grade. Cheng Rue's group timidly called Li Wu outside to talk. Cheng Rue apologized for misunderstanding and unintentionally causing a lot of trouble for his friend. Li Wu didn't blame them and even thanked everyone for speaking up to help him with teacher Chi. Cheng Rue invited friends to eat dinner to become good brothers again. In 2024, Li Wu invited a junior named Lin Shui to join the company. He praised that back in the US, Lin Shui studied very well. Hearing she graduated, he immediately invited her to work for Tong Chun. Mr. Yi took the opportunity to remind the two friends to arrange to meet investors tonight. During the meal, Director Chin praised the environmental protection artificial intelligence idea as very good. But he thought Tong Chun should control research costs. We should focus on sales promotion instead of chasing new technology. Li Wu explained that the artificial intelligence race is very fierce. If Tong Chun is satisfied with the present, it will quickly be eliminated by competitors. Tong Chun continuously innovates to ensure sustainable development. Returning home, Li Wu coincidentally met Sinjin in the elevator. But Dr. Liu also followed, even carrying a lot of fruit for Sinjin. Li Wu wondered why the two of them came back together. Dr. Liu said, "Sinjin invited me to dinner. I took the opportunity to bring some strawberries for her." Li Wu introduced that he lived right opposite Sinjin's house. He deliberately unlocked his door very slowly to wait for Dr. Liu to leave. However, Sinjin closed the door tightly. Li Wu wanted to barge in, but didn't know what status he had to do so, because there were too many strawberries. Dr. Liu conveniently made jam to help Sinjin. She didn't expect that he was good at surgery and also knew how to cook. In the apartment opposite, Li Wu was restless. He finally waited until Dr. Liu left. Unexpectedly, he carelessly pressed the call button to Sinjin. He had to use the excuse of reminding her to take him for a re-examination. Li Wu watched Sinjin see Dr. Liu off, then went out to eavesdrop. Just when the elevator door opened, he spun around once to regain his composure. He said his house was out of purified water, so he borrowed a few bottles from her. Sinjin got water for Li Wu and also praised Dr. Liu for making very fragrant jam. He remembered she liked sour things. Would she be used to sweet jam? She guessed her taste buds changed, so she felt it was quite delicious. On this side, Chun Chang was inspired to conquer Eong. She deliberately joined the travel group posted on his timeline. She introduced herself as not only knowing him, but having chatted with him twice. Sitting around the fire, Chun Chang wanted to provide a free activity room for the travel group. However, she wanted to understand everyone more. Chun Chang asked Eong directly, "Are you still single?" Everyone around testified that Eong had never had a relationship. Chun Chang continued to wonder why Eong hadn't accepted her friend request yet. Because he said he wasn't used to making friends with strangers, she went to the trouble of becoming someone familiar to him. After agreeing to be friends, Eong looked at Chun Chang's timeline. Just as she came out, he hurriedly flipped his phone face down. He used the excuse of being sleepy to crawl straight into his tent. At the hospital, Dr. Liu diagnosed that the patent foramen ovale in Li Wu's chest had not closed. People born like this are prone to migraines, especially if subjected to great stimulation. The disease will flare up more easily. Sinjin was worried and carefully noted down every instruction. Dr. Liu acknowledged that Sinjin was very good to Li Wu. He took the opportunity to remind her to remember to come to the archery club this weekend. Li Wu showed interest and asked for permission to join. On the way back, Sinjin wanted to buy a pill organizer for Li Wu. She was afraid if he was busy, he would forget to take his medicine. She wondered since when did he like archery? He pretended he had always been interested, but never had the chance to learn. She told him to pull over at the pharmacy on the side of the road, and then catch a taxi home himself. In 2016, Sinjin couldn't find any creative ideas. She thought that to win the bid for the big car company's exhibition, she had to be more breakthrough than the competitors. Just then, Li Wu reported that he had caught a taxi home himself. Waiting for Sinjin to return, Li Wu placed the scorecard ready on the table. He jumped up 20 ranks, but still hadn't made it into the top 30. Sinjin told Li Wu not to improve too fast, or else she wouldn't know how to praise him. Li Wu guessed she had eaten dinner already, so he only prepared fruit. Sinjin thought Li Wu was also a man, so he should give her some inspiration about off-road vehicles. But Li Wu didn't know how to drive. He hadn't even thought about buying a car. Sinjin gently patted Li Wu's head and urged him to rest early. To find inspiration, Sinjin took Li Wu to a science exhibition. Both tried games like simulation cycling or virtual plane piloting. Every time, Sinjin accidentally touched Li Wu. His heart trembled slightly. Sometimes he was so tense, he felt like his heart was about to jump out of his chest. Li Wu understood that what he felt for Sinjin was no longer simply gratitude. It was a deep emotion difficult to describe in words. Passing by a little girl playing musical notes, Sinjin offered to play along. The little girl's mother was Shinjun. She thanked Sinjin for playing with her child. She wanted to add WeChat friends to send the video to Sinjin. Returning to meet Li Wu, Sinjin heard he was very interested in artificial intelligence. He believed it could protect the environment and water sources, and even change the way humans live. Sinjin suddenly came up with an idea, emphasizing the theme of high technology changing lives. The next day at the company, Sinjin guessed that everyone hadn't had new ideas yet. She asked to present a bold plan, replacing the simple commercial performance with a short promotional film. However, the assistant reported that Bay AO Automobile only allowed an online meeting. They seemed to have appointed Wu Fu from Yisang Company to be in charge of this activity. Unless Sinjin bypassed Manager Chun and persuaded the general manager in charge of promotion of Bay AO Automobile. Sinjin looked at the profile and recognized the little girl's mother from the other day. Checking Shunjun's posts, Sinjin discovered she often visited a coffee shop. She sat waiting and sure enough met Shunjun. Sinjin introduced herself as the creative director of AO Xing. Her side was bidding for the Bay AO car promotion project. Shunjun had heard of Sinjin's reputation, but didn't know anything about AO Xing. Sinjin understood Shunjun's concerns because AO Xing had not been established for long. However, she was very confident in AO Xing's team and creative plan. Shunjun agreed to add AO Xing to the list, but they still had to bid based on capability. At the bidding session, Wu Fu represented Yisang Company to present the car promotion plan, Mastering Life. Manager Chun praised Wu Fu's plan just when Sinjin brought her team in a bid. She asked to present the promotional plan with the theme Mastering the Extraordinary. A member really liked the introduction line, make every bump like walking on flat ground. However, he had never heard of Yunfeng Village. Sinjin said Yunfeng Village was still pristine. The road conditions there were very suitable for promoting Bay AO Car's multi-terrain adaptation system. Her parents used to sponsor a student in Yunfeng, but inconvenient transportation made it impossible to visit him often. Therefore, a superior car not only brings travel convenience, but also carries humanity. Seeing Cheng Rue staying at the dormitory, Li Wu promised to come back in a bit to eat dinner with his friend. Because Sinjin had been very busy lately and stayed at the company all the time, unexpectedly Sinjin came home early and personally went into the kitchen to cook hot pot. As a result, Cheng Rue waited forever, finally receiving a message about Li Wu breaking the appointment. Knowing Sinjin worked hard, Li Wu forced her to eat a lot of meat. She reported that the bidding had ended and asked if he wanted to do anything. Just then, Sinjin received the news of winning the bid. Sinjin excitedly held Li Wu's hand tightly, making the corners of his lips unconsciously curve up, soft like a smile reserved only for her. Sinjin revealed she would film the commercial in Yunfeng Village. Li Wu remembered behind his grandfather's old house there was a road winding around the mountain up to Qinglian Peak. When he was small, he often ran up there, because if lucky he could watch the sea of clouds. Sinjin excitedly brought out a notebook to take notes. Li Wu described that every time at dawn or dusk, the mountain peak was covered in orange color. Besides, there were terraced fields in the middle of the mountain, and villages at the foot of the hill. The colors were layered upon layers, exactly like a painting. Especially the stream water on the mountain was very clear. In the river, there were also small crabs and fish, very suitable for battering and deep frying until crispy. The distance with Sinjin narrowed more and more, making Li Wu's heart tremble uncontrollably. From her smile to her breath lightly brushing past, everything made him flutter. Starting a new working year, Shui gave employees comedy tickets for the second day of the Lunar New Year. Sinjin remembered that day was Li Wu's birthday, so she asked for 2 entrance tickets. She called Li Wu just when he was catching a bus home. She told him to get off at the stop, right at Jili Building, to pick her up. Arriving in front of Sinjin's company, Li Wu watched the commercial tape filmed in Yunfeng Village. The female character in it, every gesture and appearance, was exactly like the girl who had walked into his heart from the first day of meeting. The first moment seeing her was still etched deep in his memory, to the point that just remembering it made his heart tremble slightly. The time she stood up to protect him, without hesitation, without fear, all became precious pieces of memory that he could never forget. Li Wu, a familiar calling voice rang out. The figure of that girl once again appeared before his eyes, making his soul tremble to the point of being choked for words. In a sweet dream, Li Wu saw himself lying on the bed, and Sinjin walked over like an angel. She bent down, gently caressing his face so tenderly that it made his heart tremble slightly. Li Wu woke up with a start, his breathing still rapid due to the lingering effect of the dream just now. In 2024, Li Wu followed Sinjin to the archery club. She had just bought an American-style hunting bow, so she asked Dr. Liu for guidance. Li Wu immediately asked Sinjin about how to pull the string too. She saw his posture was wrong, so she came over to teach him bit by bit. Li Wu was smug. His first shot was very decent. Sinjin adjusted his head tilt further, making him improve significantly. Li Wu looked at his rival's achievement and wanted to try even harder. Dr. Liu praised Li Wu for being impressive, playing for the first time. He already shot nearly hitting the bullseye. Sinjin guessed her student would only take one day to catch up with her. Just then, she heard the film studio was having trouble, so she excused herself to leave first. Li Wu heard Dr. Liu invite him to dinner and immediately agreed. Arriving at the restaurant, Dr. Liu invited Li Wu to taste the osmanthus wine that Sinjin liked the most. Li Wu acknowledged the sweet and sour taste was exactly Sinjin's culinary preference. Dr. Liu said every time the restaurant released a new dish, they invited Sinjin to experience it. Li Wu praised the eggplant as very delicious. Just pity it didn't suit Sinjin's taste. He remembered every time they ate together. He ate all the eggplant for her. Dr. Liu guessed Sinjin changed her taste, because every time she praised the eggplant as soft and delicious. On this side, Sinjin was tidying up the film studio alone. She heard the fire alarm and frantically ran outside. Sinjin carelessly dropped a shoe, but couldn't reach it, so she had to take off the remaining one to run downstairs. The security guard said, "The building is just testing the fire alarm system. Coming to pick Sinjin up." Li Wu saw her rubbing her feet. He heard she ran until she dropped her shoes, but didn't forget to bring her computer. Li Wu wanted to carry Sinjin on his back to go home, but she regretted losing the newly bought shoes. He had to sit with her waiting for the building to finish checking the fire alarm system. Li Wu forced Sinjin to put her feet on his shoes, the corners of his mouth unconsciously curving up. He was afraid she would be bored, so he invited her to play a newly released game. The distance between them was also gradually shortened thanks to that. Li Wu heard the security guard finish checking the left system, so he immediately went in to find the shoe for Sinjin. He bent down to put the shoe on her foot. They walked side by side back in the quiet night. Back home, Sinjin told Li Wu to rest early. He guessed the door was broken, so he couldn't enter the password. He contacted the customer service number, but they scheduled to come fix it tomorrow. "Sister, can I sleep over for one night?" Sinjin was troubled, but had to agree. Li Wu gallantly opened the door to ask Sinjin for the house password, but he didn't expect she still kept the old password. Seeing Li Wu temporarily wearing her nightgown, Sinjin couldn't help laughing. She apologized because this was her largest size sleepwear. Li Wu thought her house had men's sleepwear. Sinjin said her father wasn't here, so where would she get men's sleepwear? She urged him to go change the bed sheets so she could get more pillows. Finally, Li Wu returned to the familiar room. Everything here was exactly like 8 years ago. He discovered she still kept the model they assembled together. On this side, Sinjin chose a buckwheat pillow for Li Wu. She suddenly remembered she still kept old things in the next room. Sinjin hurriedly ran to Li Wu's room, but it was too late. She blamed him for arbitrarily rummaging through other people's things. Li Wu saw the items placed right in the cabinet and related to him. "Sinjin, why did you keep these things?" Sinjin walked away, but Li Wu hurriedly pressed close to her. He wanted to advance a bit more, but got kicked in the leg by her. She warned him if he crossed the line again, he would have to sleep on the street. She thought passwords or old things didn't necessarily have to be deleted. Sinjin talked tough but tossed and turned, unable to sleep. On this side, Li Wu read all of Sinjin's life notebook. Besides, there was a draft book filled with Sinjin's name. Inside, he also hid a photo of her. That was 7 years ago, he secretly took from a file folder. Just one photo was enough to make him happy boundlessly. Sinjin brought fruit to Li Wu. Sinjin praised him for spinning the pen very well. She borrowed the pen to try spinning it. Li Wu was tense because this morning he put the photo in the pen case. He used the excuse of needing the eraser to snatch back the pen case. Luckily, she didn't find out. About to enter the new day, Li Wu went out to the living room and saw Sinjin falling asleep on the sofa. Seeing her wake up, he hurriedly ran into the room. However, she called him back just when hearing shouting outside. Sinjin wished Li Wu a happy new year. She apologized for oversleeping so she couldn't count down the moment entering the new year with him. She blamed him for going out to welcome New Year's Eve without waking her up. Just then fireworks went off outside. She urged him to quickly come over and watch. For the first time, Li Wu got a gaze at a sky brilliant with colors. Sinjin realized Li Wu had grown a bit taller again. So she came up with the idea of taking a photo together to compare between the years. Li Wu, let's take a photo together to celebrate a new beginning. Li Wu was nervous, looking forward to the moment the first photo taken together appeared. Going to watch the stand-up comedy. Sinjin reminded Li Wu to relax. However, only her joy could make him laugh. Li Wu couldn't concentrate on listening to the play because he was busy secretly looking at Sinjin. Just then, the actor invited the audience to write their questions on paper. He picked a random slip and read the question, "What to do when my younger brother doesn't like to smile?" He advised the audience member to drag the brother to a fun place, as long as they weren't with her. But the comedian didn't know that Li Wu's smile was reserved only for the person he loved. Back home, Sinjin wished Li Wu a happy birthday. She forced him to make a wish before blowing out the candles. Sinjin probed what Li Wu wished for, but he heard that saying it out loud wouldn't make it come true. "Sinjin, I wish you always have smooth sailing." Sinjin had to turn off the lights and light the candles, forcing Li Wu to wish for himself. He had finished thinking of the wish before closing his eyes. "Sister, thank you." Sinjin wondered, besides thank you and sorry, did Li Wu know anything cool to say? Seeing him shy, she gave him a birthday gift. Both of them cut the cake happily to celebrate his 20th birthday. In 2024, Li Wu looked at the first photo taken with Sinjin. Just then, the alarm rang reminding him to take his medicine on time. On this side, Sinjin woke up and saw Li Wu had left. She sneezed continuously and hurriedly made cold medicine. Just then Dr. Liu called, inviting Sinjin to try a new dish, but she refused because she had a cold. Coming to visit her daughter, Mrs. Sin coincidentally met Dr. Liu. He heard Sinjin was sick, so he came over to see how she was. Mrs. Sin used the excuse of meeting her group of sisters to create an opportunity for Dr. Liu. She asked him to tell Sinjin to give half the oranges to Li Wu. Entering Sinjin's house, Dr. Liu saw Li Wu's jacket. He ladled the porridge and urged her to eat quickly to relieve the cold. He wondered, is that Li Wu's jacket? Sinjin explained that last night, Li Wu's door lock was broken. Because it was too late, he stayed at her house for a night. Dr. Liu admitted he was curious about the relationship between Sinjin and Li Wu, because sometimes the two didn't seem close, but sometimes they were very in sync. Sinjin only said she wasn't a relative of Li Wu. On this side, Li Wu refused to cooperate with Director Qin. He remembered when Tong Chun was first established. We decided to ceaselessly pursue more advanced technology, leaving a mark in the technology industry. But Mr. Yi emphasized that to maintain the company, capital was needed. Li Wu argued that technology was exactly the capital for starting the business. Moreover, Director Qin not only interfered with the development planning, but also set many strict profit conditions. Just then, Lin Shui reported that the operating system appeared to have a bug. Getting off work, Li Wu missed the apartment opposite very much. He heard Sinjin's voice. So he hurriedly ran back to open the door. "Sister, tonight I was busy working overtime, so I haven't eaten dinner yet. My stomach is uncomfortable, but waiting for food delivery is too long. I'll come over, finish a bite of noodles, and leave immediately. I won't stay a second longer." Sure enough, Li Wu's pitiful look always made Sinjin unable to refuse. She told him to rest and wait for her to cook noodles. Sinjin remembered Li Wu had insomnia for many years, so she asked him to try out a line of scented candle products. She was making a promotional plan, so she wanted to find out the effectiveness of the product. Li Wu agreed to experience it and even send a report to Sinjin. Going to the table to wait, Li Wu saw Sinjin translating English documents. He handily helped her do the work. When Sinjin finished cooking noodles, Li Wu had already fallen asleep on the table. She discovered he had finished translating the documents for her. Sinjin intended to turn off the computer, but Li Wu unexpectedly grabbed her finger. Sinjin gently pulled her hand back, thanking the scented candle for giving him a good sleep. In 2017, Li Wu gazed at the photo hidden carefully in the pen case. The whole dormitory concentrated on reviewing to enter the final exam of the first semester. Sinjin knew Li Wu had just finished the exam, so she immediately went to pick him up to go home. Seeing the house messy, Li Wu thought there was a thief. Sinjin urged him to go take a shower so she could tidy up a bit. In the bathroom, Li Wu discovered he had mistakenly taken 2 pairs of pants. He looked around the house. Seeing no one, he dared to run back to his room. Unexpectedly, Sinjin suddenly came out. Li Wu stammered, saying he forgot to bring a shirt. He was so tense that only after closing the door tightly did he dare to breathe. Seeing Li Wu drop the towel, Sinjin called him out to get it. Li Wu accidentally touched Sinjin's hand, so he was flustered and dropped the towel. Both bent down to pick it up at the same time. looking straight into each other's eyes. Sinjin told Li Wu to wear more warm clothes to avoid catching a cold. He asked for permission to go back to his hometown for a trip during the holiday. Returning to Yinfeng, Sinjin asked Li Wu where he wanted to celebrate Lunar New Year. Hearing Li Wu choose to celebrate Lunar New Year with her, she praised him for being very wise. It turned out Li Wu went back to pay respects to his grandfather. He kowtowed to his grandfather, making Sinjin emotional. She gently picked each dry leaf caught in his hair. Li Wu intended to leave, but Sinjin wanted to say a few words. "Grandpa, now Li Wu doesn't have to worry about food and clothing. His achievements are also very excellent. You over there, just rest assured. I will take good care of him." On the way back, Li Wu suddenly paused. He looked towards his grandfather's old house, but his uncle had sold it. By now, people had demolished it, so it could no longer be seen. Sinjin remembered that in the photo taken together when small, that house was still there. The sky turned dark quickly, making Sinjin a bit scared. She forced Li Wu not to be more than 10 centimeters away from her. He agreed, taking very small steps. Finally, they also went down the mountain. Sinjin just now realized the sky in Yinfeng had so many stars. "Li Wu, let's go home to celebrate Lunar New Year." Returning to school to get the transcript, Li Wu heard the teacher praise him for ranking first in the class in the final exam. But he was a bit let down because he still ranked 31st. However, the teacher decided to transfer Li Wu to class number 1. Hearing Li Wu got into the select class, Sinjin was extremely excited. Mrs. Sin begged the two children to focus on wrapping dumplings and stop rambling about studies or work. She criticized her daughter for being clumsy, not even equal to half of Xiao Wu. He looked at her weird dumplings and could only shake his head. During the New Year's Eve meal, Mr. Sin wanted to toast a cup with Xiao Wu, but Mrs. Sin stopped him and forced Sinjin to pour orange juice for her brother. Sinjin pulled Li Wu up to wish their parents a happy new year together. She hoped Mom would win wherever she played mahjong. Hoping Dad's alcohol tolerance would get better and better, she told Li Wu the more he sweet-talked, the thicker the lucky money envelope he would receive. But he only knew to wish Uncle and Annie a happy new year, always healthy and peaceful. Sinjin was jealous that Li Wu spoke 8 words but received a lucky money envelope twice as thick as hers. Mr. Sin wished Li Wu to pass into a good school and come here to celebrate Lunar New Year every year.